The United Nations designated 1999 as the International Year of the Older Person. Are you an older person? How do you picture the later years of life? Working in a garden, perhaps, caring for grandbabies, splurging on a new hat, daydreaming, learning some new steps, finding a kindred spirit, traveling the country, going back to school, getting physically fit, visiting with old and new friends. Many older people are living these dreams, but not all. For more than 4 million grandparents, these dreams are often sacrificed in order to make a home and care for their grandchildren. Grandparents are raising 1 in every 20 children in the United States. In addition to grandparents, there are other relatives, aunts and uncles, who are also raising the children of other family members. For over a year, members of the Center of International Learning, a nonprofit organization, have been listening to grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. We heard many grandparents' voices at a conference sponsored by the Denver Department of Social Services in Denver, Colorado. Subsequently, some grandmothers invited us to their homes to share their stories. What would you do if you were a grandmother like Rita?
And finally I got a phone call saying, they weren't taking care of the kids and all this and that, and they were going to turn them over to the social worker. They were sending Christopher to school without a snack, an afternoon snack or a morning snack, or without lunch and all this sort of stuff.
Even great-grandmothers like Mrs. Peoples become parents again. With the death of one daughter in childbirth and the cocaine addiction of another, she chose to raise their 7 children.
And I had to go to court with social services. So I was with social services and fought until I got those 3. So now I have 7 kids at home I'm trying to raise.
After Antonia raised 6 children of her own, she and her sister are now raising 2 more.
My granddaughter is 15 and a half, going on 30. And my grandson is 10, and depends on the mood he's in. It's a different age, and it's a difficult time. The children's mother, my daughter, is a drug addict. She got involved in alcohol and in crack. And she tried to commit suicide, and I had her here in my home. The day it actually happened, Jamie, which is my granddaughter, she called on a Saturday morning in July, 2.5 years ago. January, and she says, Grandma, my mom tried to commit suicide. She cut her wrist.
At 40, Brenda is the youngest of the grandmothers here. She still has 1 daughter at home, in addition to 3 grandchildren.
She needed to be free of responsibilities with a lot of the feelings that she had about the babies. Each one has a different father. She said, either I take them or she put them in foster care, because she just couldn't handle it. It was a challenge to me, it was a threat to me, it was a in-your-face sort of thing. But I also know that I've provided the stability that she was unable, and I know she knew that I would.
Lorraine left her job at the university to care for her daughter's children.
Yeah, I was getting ready for work. I'm downstairs and Cindy's walking out the door and Becca's laying in the crib and I'm a mom. That fast. And I called my boss and I said, well, most people get 9 months notice that they need a babysitter. Well, I got 0 notice. I've got to find a babysitter. And then she got pregnant with the triplets, and her boyfriend, their father, a different father than Becca's, dropped her off pregnant at our house and took off.
Disruption, crisis, and chaos were described by several grandparents.
It was an adjustment. I'd been widowed for 2 years, and I was able to pack up and travel, and if I wanted to stop for dinner after work, I would. If I wanted to go shopping after work, I would. Now I have to have the kids picked up by 6 o'clock, or it's $1 a minute for every minute you're late.
This is a life change. I don't even care if it was just for another month, even the way my life has changed so drastically. Mentally, physically, emotionally.
When you're a grandparent raising your grandchildren, the toughest decision that you have to make is the choice between your child and your grandchildren.
And it was very hard telling my daughter she couldn't stay here.
How painful.
It was very hard. It was cold outside and she had nowhere to go. And I had to make a choice. Do I allow her to continue to do this to these children, or do I take a stand?
Two of the grandchildren told us how the crises affected them.
I'm here and I just saw my mom try to kill herself. And so this other cop, he came and he took over and he asked me if my mom's ever done narcotics. And I think that has been one of the most hardest things because I had to turn my mom in and I had to tell them that my mom was doing drugs.
And my mom woke us up in the middle of the night. We got our stuff and we left. And we had to leave their house. And then we had to stay over at Grandma's house.
Working to change the chaotic and sometimes abusive patterns of behavior, both experienced by and acted out by the children coming into their homes, is an ongoing struggle. Antonia tells about her grandson Josh.
They had no routine, no structure in their life. There's structure in this home. But he was always given a double message. You must do this, or you'll be grounded, for example, you'll be in the corner, whatever. The job wasn't done and nothing was followed through. So he grew up knowing that he could do whatever he wanted because there was no consequences involved.
They never had any schedule to keep.
Yeah.
When they were staying here, the parents would go over to friend's house and bring the kids back 10 o'clock at night and they hadn't even had dinner yet. And they'd go to bed and they'd be hungry. So I'd get up and I'd fix the macaroni and cheese or something and then they'd go back to sleep. Now Christopher, of course, when I first got him, we would have major temper tantrums. His favorite thing when I first got him was lay on the floor and bang his head. Or to stand there and hit himself like this really hard, which the counselor said was symptoms of an abused child.
The grandparents faced legal problems and unexpected expenses in gaining custody and maintaining custody of their grandchildren. One described the on-again, off-again decisions of the children's parents to take their children as custody ping-pong. For Lorraine, the custody fight meant traveling to California and hiring an attorney.
Financially, it put a big strain on us. We still owe the attorney $39,000.
I said, if you want me to take these kids, then you're going to have to give me custody of the kids.
Right.
And I knew from a friend of mine who's no longer here in town. In fact, I called her in Ohio. I said, what did you do? She said, I got a letter indicating that custody was going to be given to me on a temporary basis. And I had her sign it with me at a notary.
Well, I do have a restraining order because last January when the kids said they were coming, I went to school and I said, the children say they're on their way here, and the children's parents. And the school immediately said, unless you have a restraining order, we have to give them to their legal parents. So they said, keep them out of school until you get the restraining order.
All of the grandparents told of financial problems related to food, clothing, diapers, utilities, housing, and school supplies. One said, I had a choice between paying the light bill or getting my grandbaby school shoes. Mrs. Peoples also says it clearly.
They always telling me here in Colorado that you can't live in a small place with so many kids. But if you can't live in a small place with so many kids, why ain't some of you all doing something for me, putting me in a proper-sized house that I need to be in? Don't talk a thing and don't do nothing. I can't get a house because I'm too poor. I can't make the monthly payments, you know what I'm saying? And the people on Section 8, some of the landlords take kids, the majority of them don't want no kids in their houses and things. If they don't want your kids in the house, you know what I'm saying?
In order to get financial assistance, many grandparents turn to the social service system. Brenda describes her experience.
Because I came prepared, number one, when I went, I had my letter of custody. I knew I was going to need birth certificates and social security cards and all that stuff. Because I was prepared, I did okay. For someone who was unfamiliar with the system, and you show up. It is a long, drawn-out process. Even still, I don't qualify for food stamps.
Grandparents want many changes in the system. Of the system, one grandparent said, "They're spending more than $50 per day keeping my child in prison, and they only give me $100 a month to care for her child."
If a foster parent is allowed this funds, why cannot the grandparent get the same amount of money? For Josh was 10, I believe I was quoted $362 a month, and for Jamie, she's 12, well, the child 12 and they're 16, I think it's $450 or $430, something within that range. That's for foster care. Plus, they give them food stamps, and also they have like commodities or other things like that, other help. And they give them clothing allowance for school.
Wow.
They give them clothing allowance, but yet you turn into the situation I'm in, or many grandparents, you know, care providers like I am, $107. We look at that. Now, where does that balance out?
You know, we don't get a chance to go anywhere, and nobody to keep the kids look like they should have some place that we grandparents could take the kids, you know. Just take them at least take them early that morning and pick them up late that evening and give us a, you know, a few hours that we could go somewhere, you know, and maybe enjoy, you know, ourselves, or go out and maybe, you know, drink a cup of coffee at a restaurant, just sit somewhere, you know, just go.
Grandparents are crying loudly for public policy changes. Many are simply angry that the system, the taxpayers, the community, exploit the resources, time, work, family commitments, and love of grandparent caregivers with pensions, jobs, and stable housing, while failing to provide them with sufficient resources to do the caregiving. Not only do they want the equivalency of foster care dollars for their work, they also want changes in the role of social services.
We adopted 3 of them because the Department of Social Service said either you adopt them or we'll put them up for adoption. My daughters and them got more rights in the penitentiary right now over these kids than I.
They told me I have to call the police and tell them that I've abandoned the children. That's right, that's what they told me.
In short, the grandparents are advocating for 3 things. 1, sufficient resources. 2, grandparent and caregiver rights. And 3, changing social services' adversarial role in custody and placement of grandchildren, as required by dependency and neglect petitions, to a supportive role through family conferencing, whereby the extended family and the child decide on placement according to what is in the best interest of the child, while social services provides the needed support for the family's decision. In the midst of these issues, the grandparents also tell of the joys of having their grandchildren with them, and they name the strengths they bring to the job of raising them and why those strengths are needed. You have to reach deep down and find patience you never knew you had. The kids have been through so much, they need encouraging. We done got older and we know more. They can't have everything they see in the store. Helps when things get rough. Kids need to know you're willing to work out whatever comes along. They need to know they can count on you. Do what you say you'll do. Family history and cultural traditions are important. Listen first and talk it through. Give them choices, like we'll try it your way, then we'll try it my way, and then we'll decide which way works best. As they begin to feel safe, they begin to heal. When grandparents take on grandchildren, it's because of love. Since some of these grandchildren are too young to say thank you for themselves, the Center of International Learning wants to dedicate this video As a thank you note to these grandparents and the other 4 million grandparents and relatives raising grandchildren, we are grateful, we are grateful, we are grateful.